Hi there, everyone. Welcome to another one of my album reviews, and I am so happy to be reviewing this one for you today. We are talking about Kirk Hammett's first solo EP, Portals. If you're one of my regular viewers, you'll know that I had COVID not too long ago, and it so happened that my second week of trying to avoid the public of COVID fell during Record Store Day. I was not able to get this on Record Store Day, but as soon as I was feeling good, went into my record store and said, "Can you please get me a copy?" And they're like, "We will please get you a copy." At that point, the only song I had heard was High Plains Drifter, which has a video out. You can watch the video. I've seen it on YouTube, which is where you're watching this. So High Plains Drifter is out there. It is good. Watch the video. Beautiful animation. Fantastic to watch. The music, though, oh, so nice. Let's get into this album. Now, it's an EP. It's not quite album length, full album length. It gets close. 4 songs, 27 minutes. It's pretty good, I would say. And I believe to be an EP, it technically has to be 30 or 35. I can't remember. So we're talking, it's either like 3 minutes short of being a full length album, or it's 6 minutes short. Either way, if Kirk Hammett had put one more track on here, it would have been a full length album. But if you put one more track on here, it never would have balanced properly on a vinyl. Okay. So the very first song on this album is, oh wait, before I get into the first song, this is an instrumental album. The musicians vary from track to track. Kirk Hammett is obviously playing guitar on the whole way through, but there is a different bassist on every album. There is a different different bassist on every song, a different drummer on every song. There's a lot of orchestration on this album. So you got various orchestra musicians on here, The only name on here that is a big kind of standout for me is, okay, so the whole album is produced by Kirk Hammett, mixed by Kirk Hammett, and Bob Rock. That's right, folks. Legendary producer Bob Rock came back and helped do this up. And Bob Rock is good. He did this up right. That's the inside. There's no book. It's very minimal. And that's cool. That's really cool. It can be very minimal, and I'm cool with that. Because just the fact that Kirk Hammett got to release a solo album, Shall I remind everybody why Jason Newsted left the band? Okay, maybe they learned their lessons. So, and this was even recorded in different places too. Each track was recorded in a different place. It does say that it was all mixed at Plantation Recording in Maui, Hawaii. So, yeah, there's that. All right, we got the first song, Maiden and the Monster. 7 minutes, 16 seconds. First track on the album. Kicks off the album right, lets you know that you are going to be in for an instrumental journey on this album. There are no vocals, folks. We're talking just instrumentation. And this particular track, of all the tracks on this album, this one is actually the one that appeals to me the least. And it's only because I want to say it's got parts in there that just maybe a little too mellow for me. It doesn't quite have the vibe that I'm looking for. Let's be clear. This album is not the metal. This is not the metal album, okay? Yes, is there metal on here? Yes. Can it be metal? Yes. Is it classified as metal? For sure it's metal. Is it the metal? No, it's not the metal. This is definitely more inspired by classic metal. I know I've read multiple interviews where Hendrix was an inspiration, Deep Purple was an inspiration, specifically Blackmore, the Stones, stuff like that. Stuff that sometimes it would be what James Hetfield would refer to as hippie trippy bullshit. And of all the songs on here, Maiden and the Monster, well, really cool, and it does take you on a fantastic voyage, is the least exploratory to me. It's kind of the one that it seems like Kirk's playing it the safest on it. Then we get to the Gin. I like the Gin. The Gin is awesome. That is Jinn, as in another way people would know it would be genie. Jinn would be out of Middle Eastern beliefs. I know they are in Islamic culture specifically, part of the Quran and stuff like that. Jinns, I don't know enough about the Quran to say about jinns, but jinns are kind of interesting. The idea that genies do exist in biblical tales. Moving on from that, though, the Jinn music on it is really cool. I love the way it starts off. There's actually a riff that the bass is using at the very beginning. I really dig, and one of the reasons I really dig it is it actually reminds me of a song from one of my bands that we had done called Shiver Me Timbers, and it's kind of got this cool little bouncy back and forth. It just could, and it gets it going. It takes you off, and there's a real journey to it, and it really kind of gets you into this place. And the whole way around, the music's fantastic. One of the things I do absolutely love is, the solos on here, the guitar solos. Of course, Kirk's going to have some great guitar solos. But the solos aren't overwhelming, like it's not Kirk Hammett going out there and masturbating. They're well placed. The whole music on this is a giant, beautiful composition. And it doesn't say who wrote anything on here. That is the one thing I will complain about, is there are no writing credits on here. So I don't know if Kirk wrote the whole thing, which, if he did, fantastic. I could see him doing that and doing it well, and, handing over the sheet music for the other stuff. I just really wish I knew for sure. But the Jinn is fantastic. It really kind of gets you going, and great music to listen to. High Plains Drifter, I've already mentioned. Like I said, the song, great video. Now, the one thing with High Plains Drifter is you don't notice it so much going on during the first two songs. There's subtle nuances. Like, you can definitely see a lot of influences and stuff like that throughout there. A variety, a huge variety. You can tell the time that the band Metallica spent working with the San Francisco Symphony Orchestra really rubbed off on Kirk in a lot of ways. Especially with a lot of the songs. Like, go back, watch my review for that. S&M 2 specifically. S&M 2, I think, is where it's really having an effect here. And if you go back and listen to what I say on S&M 2, you might understand. But High Plains Drifter, we get to very kind of, obviously with the name High Plains Drifter, you can tell it's Sergio Leone, spaghetti western inspired, stuff like that. But you can hear that in the music too. You can hear the theme for the good, the bad, and the ugly, which the name of it is actually escaping me on the moment. I always just think of it as the good, the bad, and the ugly. That okay, so Metallica always opens every show with it, and I love, once again with S&M, the S&M shows, they actually open it up with the orchestra actually playing it proper. And it's a great piece, and if you ever get a chance, just go watch the video, the clip on YouTube of just that sequence when Ecstasy of Gold, that's it. When Ecstasy of Gold is playing, and you see it in the original, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and that whole scene is just cinematic masterpiece, and the music worked into it is beautiful. And you can see hear the influence of that music and the style that's going on there in High Plains Drifter the whole way through. Like, there's a few times where you're kind of waiting for the woo, 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 to kind of kick in, It's just like, oh, fantastic. And then you get to the last track on the album, The Incantation. This is a great song, but what I really love about this song is, it's got this great intro and whatnot. And then you get to this part where all of a sudden you realize what's honestly going on. And to me, the incantation is definitely 100% a giant nod to Deep Purple's Child in Time. Right down to the point where when they go to do the musical shift, okay? Now, if you're if you're not familiar with Deep Purple's Child in Time, go familiarize yourself with that. That's legendary music right there, man. You will not beat songs like Child in Time. My son, even, huge fan of that song, even, to the point where, the way he asked me about it one day, he's like, what song is that where, you got the high pitch, screaming going on. I go, oh, Child in Time. I go, oh, I really like that song, especially when it goes to that one part where it's bop, ba-da-da-bop, ba-da-da-bop. And Kirk Hammett does it on this one. I love it. Incantation. All of a sudden, you got it going along, and it's this great song. All bump, ba-da-da, bump, ba-da-da, bump, ba-da-da, 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 bump, ba-da-da, bump, ba-da-da, bump, ba-da-da, ba-da-da, and then it takes off into the heavy section, man. Just a beautiful, beautiful nod to Child in Time. This whole album, really, I hope that Kirk does more of these. Holy crap, this was fantastic. If he can bust out one of these EPs, maybe not every year, but like every other year on Record Store Day as a special Record Store Day release, I will pick it up every time because, wow, this is fantastic. It is not an exercise in gratuitousness. There is fantastic songwriting on here. Like, the instrumental writing on this is just amazing. And the part that I love the most about it is it's because it's Kirk Hammett solo album, you expect it to be heavy guitar centric. Yes, there's guitars in there. Yes, the guitars are really cool. But no, it's not a guitar centric album. It really is far from a guitar centric album. The guitar is just a piece of the instrumentation that makes up fantastic music in here. This album is not about ego, and if it is about ego, it's about, look at what I can write. Boom. That's what it is. This is definitely the album that Kirk Hammett needed to release because, no pun intended off the last joke. And the reason why I say this is the album that he needed to release is you can always tell with Metallica where Kirk kind of comes in a little bit. But when you listen to this album, you really start to understand where Kirk really fits in the big scheme of Metallica, Like, when you see a Kirk Hammett song, you always kind of go, all right, what part of this is really Kirk? And when you listen to this, you can start understanding which parts are Kirk. And the other thing I really love about this album is it just makes me want to hang out with Kirk Hammett that much more. I've always said that Kirk Hammett and Rob Trujillo were in the current Metallica mix are always the two members of Metallica I've always wanted to hang out with because they're the two I've got the most interests in common with. And, I would love to get together and jam with the two of them. After listening to this, oh my God, I want to get together and make music with Kirk Hammett so much, man. Like, this is just fantastic. Anyways, folks, those are my thoughts. Those are my opinions. Pick up this album. Seriously, you gotta get this album. This is a must-have, I think. As far as I'm concerned, must-have album. Especially if you like instrumental music, absolute must-have album. You gotta get this. Alright. I'll leave it at that. Tell me what you think in the comment section. That's what the comment section is for. There is that like button. There is that subscribe button. Please hit those. There's that little bell with the notifications too. Lets you know when new videos come out. There's a link below that will take you over to Patreon. You can contribute to me there. Otherwise, peace, love, take care.